He said, I don't like the crabs in a bucket analogy. Buckets don't exist in nature, so of course crabs behave weirdly. I mean, yeah, but that's the point. The analogy isn't about nature, like, just in general. The analogy is when the crabs are in the bucket, they behave like this. That's all. It's just a visual. It's just a visual thing. It's not trying to say that they naturally are trying to fuck each other over. It's just that when you put crabs in a bucket, you see this thing happen. Therefore, you know that thing you see when you go crabbing? People can do that too. Haha. That's all the analogy is trying to point out. You know what I mean? That's all it is. You know what else doesn't exist in nature society? Yes and no. See, your name is literally Bodacious Crow, and I was going to say corvids have some form of it, actually. A little bit. Not full society, but a little bit of that structure. Yeah, no, it's more of a people thing, though, for sure. Small aspects of it. Yeah, ants. Ants are a great example. Ants have full colonies. That's true. That's true. Corvids are more on the social structure, I think, right? Bonobos have a society. Yeah, it's not society to the infrastructure level, but it's society in a lot of the social dynamics and things. It's missing some of the stuff though. Natural does not always equal good. Fully agree. I think I was think ants are probably the closest, maybe bees in beehives. Ants and bees would be the closest to what I would say you could like call close-ish to a society, right? Because ants do have some infrastructure, sort of. Bees have a lot of operations, a lot of operational stuff just kind of set up. That's very interesting. Whales have whole different dialects. Yeah, but that doesn't make a society. That doesn't. It's more from the infrastructure and operations standpoint where you start to argue that something could start to be called that. Don't corvids pass down info across generations? Yeah, they're one of the few that do that. It's interesting when people study like what is intelligence, what is knowledge, what is proper intelligence. They find that, you know, humans think they're the most intelligent, but they have very human intelligence. There are other kinds of intelligence, and yeah, corvids are super intelligent, and they miss some of the things that humans have, but they have other things very strongly. And it's interesting because it developed separately from humans, right? It's not like we both developed this kind of thing and then branched off. They were types of intelligence and types of social structures and passing info down that developed entirely, like revolved separately, right? And that's always super interesting to study because then it's they can study their brains and look at the similarities in certain centers of their brains versus human brains and be like, this helps us prove that this type of thought, you know, exists physically here. And that's super interesting. It's a lot to help science along with understanding, you know, intelligence, the brain, all of that. I like that kind of stuff. I like reading a lot of little, I don't know, just little articles and journals and things that get put out related to that stuff. I like that field of study is most interesting to me, I think. Bees also have work roles depending on age. Yeah, there's a lot of that in a lot of these animals that live in herds, that live in colonies, things. A lot of them have that sort of thing going on. Yeah. A simple one is like an older animal in a herd that's older and slower might be more likely to honestly just give itself up to a predator that's fighting the herd or hunting it rather, to make sure that they get taken and not one of the young or one of the, you know, stronger adults. And it's not, some people used to think, it depends on the animal, some of them do this and some of them don't. They used to think that all herd animals, for the most part, the slow and sick ones were getting taken because they were slow and sick and old. But sometimes it was more of a conscious decision because they're more, you know, of the herd mentality than the personal individual mentality, which is very interesting. Very interesting because some animals don't have that at all. You know, they really don't. It said, believe in anthropology, a set and healed broken leg is considered to be a key indicator of society as it means the sick were cared for by the group. Yeah, noticing that something is wrong with one instead of like throwing it out and being like, fuck you. Instead, taking extra care of it, letting it sit there and rest up and feeding it, right? Instead of making it go out and get its own food, right? Less individualistic thought. Yeah, is one of the key indicators. But you need things like that, like an actual KPI, right? Like you said, a broken and healed leg, that sort of thing. He said, I don't care how old and sick I am, I'll push your ass down. Yeah, humans are real bad at that. Really bad. Way worse than like a herd of gazelles, if I'm being honest. Way worse. So there's a reason why animals like humans keep around elderly, always to protect the young. Yeah, it tends to be like Elderly are known as wise, therefore they are set up in a way where they can raise young. And then those that are sort of in the middle, or young and able, but not kids, are sent out to do physical work, you know, do the hunting, gathering, whatever. That sort of structure exists in a lot of other animals, kind of herds and things as well. But it's different. It manifests differently. There are key differences that, you know, you can look at and be like, okay, clearly these didn't evolve together. These and then separate. These were just totally separately evolved. Just literally old man Jenkins. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So fascinating watching crows puzzle solve. Yeah. I remember watching, like, it was interesting to see what the crows did and didn't see. So one of the puzzles was they had a snack. So they had 2 tubes of water sticking out of a board. But it was actually one tube. It was U-shaped. So the water was just poured into one side, you know, and it filled equally on both. And what the crow had to do was drop an object into like one side to get the other side to push up suddenly and try and like knock the treat out that way. And they just, like, you know, and the water level would even between both, but they didn't understand that. They couldn't understand that it was connected below without being able to see that. But when they had an apparatus like that was visible, they could kind of understand it. But some things with like the water level, it was a little hard for them to get those puzzles. But then anything where it was like a physical thing that they could tinker with in front of them, non-liquid, right? Solids only, they were really good at doing that sort of thing, like opening locks and stuff. All those sorts of puzzles they were really fucking good at. So it's just interesting because they had like certain types of spatial awareness really strongly, and then others they just did not have. I don't know. I there was one day where I watched so many videos of crows solving puzzles. And then I went down this rabbit hole of watching all sorts of different animals solve or all sorts of different puzzles. And I was like, wow, it's so interesting how the hamster can do this, but the rat cannot. Oh, the crow recognizes this spatially. Ooh. Oh, I love that sort of stuff. I love that. Said, ants and bees have a completely different genetic structure than most animals. The queens are the only diploid. Yeah. I remember reading up on this, and it was interesting to me because, right, I agree with you. It was like very, like they were all an extension of the same organism in a way. Yeah. I thought it was super fucking cool. Almost like, God, what's the word? Zooplankton? How there will be a giant mass of cells and it looks like a giant organism, but it's actually a bunch of single cells working together. That's kind of more of what like ants and bees reminded me of in a way. Because of their genetic structure and everything and just the way they function. Yeah, it was more like they were all part of a whole, like truly. No, it wasn't just a symbiotic relationship. It was a bit more one note than that. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know the right term, but it was cool. And I always felt like, to me, ants and bees seemed more like they were on that track. Siphonophores, yeah. A little bit. Not exactly like that. Obviously, they are more separate organisms because they do have a functioning body made up of different cells, whatever, and then they can physically act different. But yeah, they're very hive-minded and they come from they're birthed from the same exact thing. It's just interesting. It's super fucking interesting. You said, I heard somewhere that if humans weren't the ones running the world, crows and ravens would be the ones to do so. I don't think they'd be running anything. If humans weren't running shit, I don't think anything would be running shit, if I'm being honest. I don't know. Unless Neanderthals stayed around, maybe. Right? That could be the closest thing. If they were still around, maybe they would be doing something. I mean, obviously, if humans were around, things would be so different. Surely something would be raised up to that level of intelligence or somewhat. But there are so many things where I look at them and I don't feel like they have the desire to do what humans do, right? They would have to start building these sorts of dwellings. They start to have to, I mean, it's the society thing again, right? There's a level of society and like class system, all these different things, desire to do better than the one next to you, whatever. That's kind of what makes humans, I think, expand the way they do more than any other organism. Where the others are just, I don't think they think that deeply about it. Right? Some are locked within climate. So yeah, humans are also uniquely able to deal with living in so many different areas. So I don't know. And yeah, you'd have to be able to pass on knowledge. So Corvus would probably be closest, but I don't know, man. I don't know. Said intelligence isn't necessarily the goal of evolution. Yeah, no, it's just keeping status quo and continuing on is kind of the goal, right? There's no real set goal, but that's kind of what it is. So, yeah, that's why I don't know that anything else would actually, like, I don't know. Humans are so human-centric, right? They're like, oh, well, if humans weren't around, surely something would be the next human, the other human. And I'm like, I don't know that there even would be something like it. Because so long as everything else could just keep living, it wouldn't need to develop that way. Humans kind of happens to develop that way, but it doesn't mean that it's necessary to, you know, keep shit going. So I don't know. I feel like if humans were wiped out, I kind of don't think that like something else would rise up to be the next human necessarily. Like, it's not impossible, but I would say probably not. Probably not. Dinosaurs had nothing like us and they had way more time. It would just be RNG, honestly, at that point, for sure.